Hey guys.
Hey.
Good evening.
Let's start with you, Grant. Tell us a little bit about you. Where did you start? Why did you start Landlord Credit Bureau? What does it do for us? Let's start there.
I mean, a bit about my background. I've been investing in real estate for a while. I've been a tenant. I've moved Canada to the US. And so just for clarification, I didn't actually start FrontLobby or Landlord Credit Bureau. That's okay.
Wish I did.
found the product, and it had a lot of applications for me, both as a tenant at the time as well as being a landlord. So what the platform actually does, I'll just kind of clarify initially. We used to operate everything under the name Landlord Credit Bureau, whereas recently we still operate our credit bureau, which is called Landlord Credit Bureau. It's causing some confusion. So now we have a platform where landlords will log in and tenants can log in, and it's now called FrontLobby. Our secret sauce with it is we allow rental payments to be reported to the credit bureaus so that it actually has an impact. And so what this means is for landlords, it really helps maximize the returns you get on your rental properties, because it helps significantly lower any sort of delinquencies, make sure that you're getting paid on time, and then provides a really valuable incentive to your tenants in order to help them build credit with simply on-time payments. We have other screening tools and things that we can provide you as far as instant credit checks. And then if you do end up being in an unfortunate situation where you have a former tenant that owes you funds, then reporting that information to the credit bureaus can help maximize the likelihood of you actually recovering it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so a tenant knows what most of them will know that we don't report as landlords. If they're late on the rent, it doesn't affect their credit. So if I'm a smart tenant who's a little bit low on cash for a month, I'm going to miss my rent first, my insurance second, my visa payment third, I'm going to miss first my rent because it's not going to affect my credit. But what you're saying is with the Landlord Credit Bureau, you can now let them know that every month, just like on their visa bill, if they don't pay their minimum payment, just like on their mortgage now, that it will affect their credit on a monthly basis if they don't pay on time. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So by utilizing the platform, the tenant, they can choose to have their rental payments benefit them. So consent is required for positive reporting, but in the case if there is a debt, then consent is not required. So you can use the notifications that are built in the platform to say, hey, Grant, just a reminder, rent is due. And then if I don't end up paying, you can use late payment reminders and those sort of things. And we report rental data in the middle of the month for the previous month. So that means you kind of have that full month to try and recoup that information or recoup the payments from those tenants before it actually gets reported. And the great thing is we are able to provide that power that creditors have had in other industries to landlords of all sizes. So whether you have one tenant or 10,000, you can utilize the platform.
Yeah, kind of the pooling of all of us little guys together, we create a mass in our own right. So you mentioned some of the internal little reminders and that sort of thing that we can use as well. So I'm a landlord. I have signed up with your service. I've got some tenants, they're paying on time or they're late, whatever it might be. I'm signing into a dashboard of some sort. If someone's late, there's some automated messages that I can send to them that I don't have to think about. I don't have to type out. I don't have to stress about what do I say? How do I say it? They're just there that help me to communicate with my tenants. And I can also report them as late. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Kayla, why don't you share about your experience? I mean, you use the platform for, so it's probably helpful to have a live example here.
No, yeah, it's perfect. Like, I love these toggles. We're calling them toggles. When you're getting into FrontLobby, trying to get to learn what the platform is able to do. And now that you know what it does and how we can report tenants' monthly payment history for the good and the bad payments, now you're like, how do I give this information to my tenants? So you have a nice little toggle there, a toggle that's going to give you that welcome email. That welcome email is going to help you explain what FrontLobby is all about, how it's going to help benefit the tenant grow and improve their credit history, or how it's going to impact them. So this is a way, so the work is already done for you. Now, a lot of landlords are at a point where, rent is coming, it's on the 1st and you don't have it yet. So you're like, hey, just a reminder, rent is due. And then sometimes with good tenants, they're like, I know, I just haven't got around to it. Like, easy, and that causes some hostility. And anything that we do in our landlord world, we have to try to not do things that could result into that. So with this platform having the toggle of sending out that late payment reminder or that rent reminder, they're already doing the work for you. It's already automatic. It's going to be a way for them to say, oh, okay, I got it. I should send that right now. Now, when the payment is being late, because the only time that you're going to come into the platform in order to report anything in the dashboard, because the good payments are automatic. So they're always going to be reported to FrontLobby, to the bureaus on time every single month, unless you go in to put in a debt. But let's say you put in a debt, and now you're going to have the toggle that's going to be able to be sent to the tenants, informing the tenants that, hey, now you're going to be having a late payment reminder, letting them know what the consequences are from not paying their rent. So all of that is there, where the tools are there. You can resend some of the notifications as well, just in case. And then they also have an activity tracker within the platform, something that you can see when the tenant had opened it. That part was like mind blowing for me, because like sometimes like, well, I didn't get it. Well, this shows me that you opened it. So this is the concept where we got to start utilizing. Everything is paper, paper, paper. Anything that we talk about for advocacy is document, document, document. Even though, they know the rent is due on the 1st, having something to show them that you've given them notification, or my platform informs you that the rent is due on the 1st. And we also gave you a rent reminder letting you know that it's due on the 1st. And they always have access to what you're reporting. So when you report a debt, the tenants or good payments, the tenants can log into the dashboard through their portal, and they're going to be able to see that, and they're going to be able to dispute anything if they see anything that is not deemed to be correct. But this is something that every landlord needs to get in, feel around with it, explain it to your tenants if they have any questions. And of course, the FrontLobby support team is always there for the tenants whenever there is a question. So it's not really so much on the landlord. They could just say, just contact FrontLobby.
As a landlord myself, as someone who's managed my properties for 18 years, I'm interested in any and everything that's going to make my job easier, and especially something that I don't have to think about. So what you're saying is there's this toggle buttons that you can turn on that will automatically send reminders and automatically do certain things, so that it's not even, I don't even have to think about it. It's either on or it's off, and they're preset. Is that right?
Yeah.
Now, I've kind of focused on a little bit the bad reporting that we can do, which helps us out. But let's talk about how also the fact that the good reporting, which you said is actually automatic unless you change it, what can that do for us as landlords in our relationships with our tenants, in our finding tenants, in being that difference out there? So let's talk about that a little bit.
I want to be able to make sure our landlords, this is the tool. This is why when you're working yourself into the ad, your rental ad, putting that into the system, telling people in their ad that you do rent reporting, it's going to attract the good tenants that want to have their rents reported so that they can improve their credit. Then the other side of it is that sometimes they might miss that, right? So when you're doing that one-on-one screening at the property and they're liking it and they want to fill out a rental application, and then you say, hey, by the way, I do rent reporting. This is another concept where it's going to be like, oh my goodness, like this is awesome. Or they're going to be like, hey, I'm a little concerned about this. And they're going to come in and they're going to be like, oh, what is that? And they're a little concerned. They start asking a little bit of questions about it, right? And then they're going to do some research themselves, and they're going to see exactly what FrontLobby has to offer with the credit bureaus. And then you're going to know which tenants are not going to be the ones filling out your rental application. And that is going to be the perfect screening tool that I see, is being able to inform your tenants through the ad as well as in person, in order to help you choose between the good and the bad tenants that are going to be, they're out there.
See, and it's really interesting how, like my perspective on it before talking to you the other day was that, this could actually attract bad tenants, because you would be saying, hey, if you need to repair your credit, then, I can help you do that. And I'm going, I don't really want someone who needs, credit repaired. And yet it's not about the repairing of their credit. It's about the continuing and heightening of their credit. So that can actually be used as an attraction tool that says like, hey, after you're a tenant with me for a couple of years, your credit should be better than when you got here, not worse.
And in all fairness, like I think we do have a lot of people who are out there who had a ding, you know, it was something of a divorce. You know, usually you hear about the divorce, something really catastrophic happened, but they have a good job, they're showing proof that they had it. This could be ideal for them. People who want to do rent to own, you know, and just not, you know, covering the expenses or having the credit for their own mortgage, but can indeed be in that credit bracket that would be appropriate for the rent to own home programs. So a lot of this kind of changing could help. But again, yeah, you want to, and a lot of people are going to start to tell you what their feelings are about this as soon as you explain it, or as soon as you have it in your rental ad. And I think everyone needs to know, like, even when you're asking a tenant to give you a rental application and to provide you with any type of work references, informing them that you're going to do your credit checks through FrontLobby, you can also ask them, hey, by the way, do you have a tenancy record? Because tenants who are proactive and they have signed up themselves and got their landlords to report their good payments, they can share that information to their potential landlords. So asking that question, like, do you have a tenancy record with Landlord Credit Bureau? This is going to be something where you're going to know you have serious tenants who are who want to respect their tenancy history and show that they're good tenants, no matter where they are across Canada.
I think, you know, in places like Alberta, we're a little luckier where we have kind of things in place where that is harder to happen. But in Ontario or wherever it might be, you know, you hear these stories and it's scary as a landlord. So if this tool can help take away some of that fear and allow you to do some of these, you know, maybe more investing than you would have, or jump into a realm that you're not sure of really, but because you know that these tools are there to help, then I mean that can be priceless really in what it can do for us. So
yeah, I think you're bang on. You know, it's a tool that we talked about utilizing it right at the beginning of tenancy, but there are individuals, a lot of landlords that come to us that maybe have a tenant that isn't paying rent or has a tenant that has moved out. And, you know, we do see that we can reduce any of those delinquencies or late payments and help you recover those debts by almost 40%, which is huge when you think that there's not other great options that can help bring that tenant to the table and have a conversation about paying off that debt. And, you know, what's an important component of that is you don't require a judgment to report rental payments. So, you know, this comes up fairly often. So you're able to report rent and utilities as it's outlined in the lease. So you don't have to wait until getting an order, which was really important during COVID when things were shut down. Landlords were out of options. So we saw two things come out of that. One, this helped recover debts from those intentionally bad actors who just weren't paying rent. But we really allowed landlords and tenants to come together and form things like payment plans, where you'd say, you know, hey, Grant, I know you owe some back rent. As long as you can pay according to this payment plan, you're still living in my property, you can actually utilize this to help build back your credit. And we found that was really effective to try and bring those landlords and tenants together that actually wanted to come to a solution. And this provided a good platform for them to both actually benefit by the landlord getting the rent that's owed to them, and then the tenant utilizing it to help build their credit back to get out of whatever negative COVID situation they actually were in.
Grant and Corrine are some of our Ignited members, and they said that they use the Landlord Credit Bureau. It looks like it does help build credibility as a landlord. So that's another benefit right there, right? That you are more professional. You're not just that mom and pa that, you know, runs off the seat of their pants kind of thing, and helps to collect rent and utilities or even repairs where needed. So that's great. That's awesome. Like, it's nice always to hear from people that are using it and finding it effective in their business as active investors right now. So that's great. And they're in Ontario. I know that. So we have another question. Can FrontLobby be used in the US?
Yeah. So all across Canada, except for Quebec, and all across the US.
Let's say that I'm a landlord and I'm saying, okay, this sounds good. I think I'm, you know, maybe I'm interested in doing this. What's my time commitment? And what's my monetary commitment to this? So let's hit time commitment first. How much time is this going to take me as a landlord?
Yeah, so it'll take you a few minutes to set up the account initially. That's the heaviest lift. And the reason being is you have to verify your identity and submit a document that shows you're a landlord or a property manager. And that's really important because you can't contribute information to the credit bureaus without verifying your ID. And it just really helps with data verification to ensure the accuracy. This comes up as well about if a tenant wants to dispute something on the platform or they have challenges, the tenant also has to verify their identity. So then there's kind of that two-sided component that just creates that additional accountability. So once you go through that, that takes a couple minutes. You can register your account so you can pull your credit reports from Equifax as well. So it should take a couple minutes. And then it really just depends on how many tenants you want to add. So should take 2 to 5 minutes to set up your first tenant. You just enter your basic property details as far as the address. You can enter the tenant details, first name, last name, date of birth or SIN number, an email address, the rent amount, and then choose what notifications you want to utilize. Once you get that account set up, the ongoing, I'll use the term maintenance of it, is fairly low. So Kayla alluded earlier that we do have automations built in, and that means our system assumes that every single month, all your tenants stay the same and all your tenants pay on time, which means that you're only making updates for a tenant that has a late payment of debt or a tenant that moves in or moves out. Most landlords are able to keep this updated within a few minutes every single month, and they might already be logging in to pull a credit report or something anyways. And so it's a minimal lift. We really try and make it efficient for you, knowing that your time is really valuable, that you've got other things to do related to either your job or your landlording, whatever else that is.
You know, when you're out and about sitting there with your phone, we've gotten calls through our property management where the tenants are like, hey, you know, there was a holiday, so the money didn't get pulled out of their bank account right away. Oh my God, I just want to double check to make sure that I'm not going to be reported to the credit bureau, you know, because it didn't come out. And I'm like, calm down, we're okay, it's the holiday, you know. That's what we want to see. You know, that's the type of changing the behavior that we need to change. Just because if like Ontario, it's a mess. Anyone who's watching right now in Ontario, we know it's a mess. And, you know, Alberta, we're loving you up in Alberta, what you guys have to do. But we have so many different changes that are happening, and especially with elections that are happening and government so heavily involved, we need to start looking at different products and different tools in order to help us be better landlords and to secure the type of money that we're putting into the property in order for us to keep investing. And it gives all these new landlords who are scared of this, it leaves a nice tool for them to use for being new, and also a bargaining tool, especially when a relationship is not working out and the tenant is going down that path of non-payment. You could be like, okay, let's negotiate here before I have to report you to Landlord Credit Bureau, or I am going to report you to Landlord Credit Bureau and Equifax, because it doesn't just go, the report doesn't just go to Landlord Credit Bureau, it's going to Equifax. And that's the power behind it, because now we're going to have a trade line being added to that tenant's credit check or credit history. So now as other landlords are doing credit checks, you're seeing trade line of FrontLobby, you're seeing how much they're owing, how much that's in debt. And you can also see that the landlord who reported that tenancy record, their name and their email. So you can now connect with them as well. So this is the power that we need to start utilizing and informing these tenants. And as I advocate right through Ontario, and even now getting into Nova Scotia and Alberta, helping them, you know, continue to advocate, we see that a lot of our bad actors are not trying to jump on us about this. They don't want to talk about it because they know it's the game changer. It's the game changer to make sure that we're protecting the good landlords and good tenants.
Sarah's asking, can you use this with a short-term rental?
If there's a lease, like it depends on how short. Usually it would have to be on kind of a couple months basis.
So if there's a lease in place, then it falls within the.
That's right.
The
you do require a written lease in order to report to the bureaus. So as long as there's that case, then usually.
I know that one thing that we kind of passed over a little bit was the fact that you don't need a judgment. So I'm just going to stop and explain that a little bit, because that for me was very intriguing. So as a landlord in Alberta, I can speak to, but in most other places, when we have, you know, a complaint against a tenant, we have a hearing, and an adjudicator will decide whether, you know, who's in the right, who's in the wrong, whether any funds are being awarded either way. Now that's great and all. We can get a judgment. The hard part though is that we then have to serve that judgment on our tenants in order to collect. And if we don't know where they moved to, if this is damages after the fact, after they've gone and they don't want to give us their address, then if we can't serve them that paperwork, then we cannot collect on that judgment. And so there's some really cool tips that we've learned through the years. My favorite one is that, by getting consent for a credit check from them, you can then check their credit, say in 3 months, and that will tell you where their new place is a lot of the time. So that's been super handy. But what you're saying here is that you don't even have to have a judgment. So normally for me to affect their credit, which I do say that to my tenants, like, let's work this out because you don't want this affecting your credit for the next 7 years. And I do say that, but I also know that it's going to be a bit of a rigmarole for me to actually be able to follow through and do all of that stuff. Whereas you guys are saying, well, you no longer even need a judgment. If they owe you money and they haven't paid you, you can report it to the credit bureau without having an adjudicator, a hearing, and servicing of papers and all that kind of stuff. Yes?
Yeah, that's correct. There is one caveat to that, and that relates to some of these situations where you're reporting on fees, damages, those sort of things. I mentioned that you require a written lease in order to report. So in that, it'll usually outline rent and utilities. So that's what you can actually report to the credit bureaus, is unpaid rent and utilities. If you do want to, let's say you end up going down the path, you do get a judgment, then you could update that value to now include those damages, maybe late payment fees, interest, whatever that is, and you'd be able to update it according to that. In the situation where you just mentioned, where you have a tenant that's moved out, they owe you some additional money, most of the time landlords will start reporting with us because you can start doing that day one, doesn't require the judgment. Then if you do need to continue to pursue additional paths, so whether that is going and getting a judgment, then we can be working for you that entire time until you get that. And hopefully you don't need it. I did see one question, and it kind of pertains here, and it was, how far back can you report? So within Canada, you can go back into 6 years. And in the US, it is 7 years that you can report on.
So Karina, she's like, all right, let's get to it. What's the cost?
Yeah. So we do have one-off pricing as well as a subscription. So I can kind of break that down. So to report your current tenants, you do require a subscription, which is either $20 a month or $200 for the year. And then for each lease that you're reporting on, it becomes 60 cents a month. A lease can have multiple tenants. It can be co-signers included in that you can report on. And so for each one of those leases, it'll be 60 cents per month to report. Now we do offer different structures. So we talked about credit reports. So for a premium member, those are going to be $10.99. For anyone that just wants to sign up and pull those without being a member, they're $17.99.
We kind of have two tiers. It's like there's a base that you pay just to be a member and have the rights to be able to use the services. But then when you do use the services, it's per lease, 60 cents per lease, or $10 or so per credit check, that sort of thing. So there is the additional paid services, but the base is $200 in a year. Is that right?
Yeah, so we have what we call a basic membership or a premium membership. So if you want to sign up and just pull a credit report or just want to report a one former tenant or so, you can do that. So those ones don't require membership. They just have a higher per use charge. If you want to report on your current tenants, then you'd have to have that membership, and then there's a per lease charge, and you get discounts on those other offerings. So right. I know it's a little hard to explain, just over a phone call. Our pricing page kind of lays that out, but I think the important distinction is the premium membership allows you to report on your current tenants. And then a bunch of those other a la cartes, whether it's screening tools or reporting on former tenants, you can utilize that without having a membership. They just cost a little bit more.
And, I see there's a little conversation going on between Cindy and Angie here too. So Angie's saying it was $4 for the month for what she did. So she has a number of properties in Saskatoon. So it was $4. Cindy says, what'd you get for that? Angie says that was helped get those rent arrears. So, that's a great return on your investment, I would think, especially when it, back in 2018, I, as a landlord, would just assume that money is gone. I have had some tenants come back to me years later and say, hey, I'm buying a house now. I didn't care when I was 21, but now I'm 26 and I do care. What can we do about that debt? So you get it sometimes, but not too often. So 2018 debt, I would assume, Angie, that you probably thought, that's a done deal. And here you are for $4 a month. You're being able to jump on that. So, and Jules, thank you. She's thrown in your pricing page into the chat there, guys. So if you want to check out FrontLobby, you can check out their pricing. And like Grant said, sometimes it's easier to just read it than it is to just hear it explained. So that's great too.
Before we jump off there, so anyone here that does want to sign up, we do have a promo code for you. So if you enter iLife and upgrade to our annual membership, so that's ILIFE, then you'll get your first credit report for free. So we can help you with that tenant screening.
Can this work if they have a cosigner?
Yes, it can.
I get excited.
So yeah, you can add anyone that's a signed member of the lease. So it could be a cosigner, or it could just be, the tenants that are living there.
I get excited because in Ontario, when you have a cosigner and you're trying to bring this to the landlord and tenant board, they say, sorry, that's a small claims court issue, right? So you got to go to small claims. So the cosigner or the guarantor is not being considered to be holding that debt with the landlord and tenant board. So now when you start working this into FrontLobby and having it report it to Landlord Credit Bureau and Equifax, one, you're making sure that we're getting serious cosigners and guarantors, and two, that is now going to either help benefit them or it's going to affect them. And when I introduce this to our cosigners or guarantors, they would say, could you, let me know right away if you haven't received the payment before it goes to there, and I'm like, sure, I can let you know. You're okay with that? And the tenant's like, yeah, I'm okay with that. And now we're already like just missing that whole part, and we're making sure that we're getting paid. And it's always going to be like two people trying to hold that responsibility there. So that's another perk that you want to, and for us, like we can't really offer it, or suggest, hey, tenants, give us a cosigner and we'll accept you. But all these tenants now know if they do have, something that's just not, a new job or don't have the great credit, they will offer, a cosigner or a guarantor in order to sweeten that deal so that you will accept them. And you just make sure you're doing a credit check as well through FrontLobby on that guarantor before accepting them.
Such a huge thing to be able to say that. And I've always said that. I've always said, well, I don't want this to affect your credit. So I do want to figure this out with you. And we want to figure this through. Is it user friendly enough for me? And the reason that Mel is asking this is because he knows that I suck at technology. So how easy is it to actually use?
It's good. I think I'm like you. I had to figure it out first, and I'm like, if I have to go click this and then add this and then this pops up, no, it's everything is straightforward right on the side, putting that property there, putting your lease in, putting the tenant's information. And that's all you need. You're needing their full name and you need their birth date. You don't need their SIN number. Some landlords, they'll contact me and they inherit a tenant and they don't know how to get the tenant's information because they don't have a good payment that they want to report. So it's about kind of utilizing their normal process of what they should be doing as a landlord in order to do an emergency plan, contacting the tenants and saying, hey, I need to know your information because of the fact that if there is an emergency, we need to know who the fire department is coming in to be getting, right? And you have that information form. And it's not so threatening. It doesn't look legally like a legal paper. It doesn't look like a doc. And you tend to get the tenant's birth date information off of there. And Facebook is always great. Gotta love it when they say happy birthday to people.
Interesting. Really interesting. Never thought of that before, for sure. But yeah, all the little tips and tricks you learn as a landlord over the years, hey?
We're like private investigators these days, I tell you.
I remember when at first one of the only ways that we could screen people like that way was by looking at the kind of email they had, like, hot chick 13 or whatever. Like, now it's like you not only can you see that stuff, but you can see their whole entire life story. So it's great.
We're zooming up on their tables. Like, are you kidding me? Like, you're giving them so much. We don't have to be like this, but the government kind of makes us like this, but we have to. We're giving you the keys to, thousands of dollars. We have to make sure that we're getting a good tenant based on the concept that you're going to take care of it, and two, that you're going to pay, and that we're not spending, X amount of time trying to evict you for you not paying rent, right? So we have to do it. Times are changing. And like you said, when you look at what bills people have to pay, they tend to go with the rent part of it, especially here in Ontario, because we don't get a late fee for tenants not paying rent. So this is considered now the late fee, right? So this is something that is going to be a punishment. There's not really a punishment, just that there's consequences. There's consequences that people need to know that is now out there, and that we're going to keep spreading the awareness and try to get as many landlords across Canada and the States to continue to keep doing it, almost like something that's normal, just like our lease and doing our credit checks. We now need to make sure that we as a community are doing that rental payment reporting.
You also have a screening tool, credit check. So let's talk about that.
So what we provide is long form credit checks or credit reports that come directly from Equifax. If there is information that is also on that tenant from Landlord Credit Bureau, we'll also add that in there. What that means, as far as the long form Equifax report, it'll have all their trade lines, it'll have employers, addresses, collections, any liens, any of that sort of information that you'd want to get. Once you register, which initially when you're setting up the account, it can take 1 to 7 days to get that registration back from Equifax. But once that's done, then it'll be instant. So all you'd do is you go in, you'd enter the individual's name, their last known address that you have, their date of birth, and then that long form Equifax will show up. If there is any information from Landlord Credit Bureau, that'll give you what Kayla had mentioned earlier, as far as the address, the name, and the email address of the landlord that provided that information. And then it'll give you that month by month breakdown. So you can see how much they were paying for rent, and it'll show you every month whether they actually paid it late, paid it on time, and if there is an outstanding debt.
You know what? And I find that too really helpful to be able to know how much they were paying for rent, because, if they're applying for a place, like I know back when we were crazy booming and, you could raise rents like crazy, and we're renting places for $2,300 and someone was just paying $1,300 in their last place. And I'm like, that might be a bit of a stretch for you. So it's always helpful to know how much they've been paying, for sure. Interesting point too. Sean's a mortgage broker. And he says, I can see mortgage lenders starting to look intently at those LCB reports when someone looks for a mortgage, because, how you do one thing is how you do many things, right? So at the end of the day, guys, what is your kind of mandate? I know that you have, Kayla, you have a bigger kind of picture to this. Grant, what is your mandate for FrontLobby, for landlords? What at the end of the day are you hoping to be able to help with and accomplish through this before we say goodbye?
Yeah, our tagline is we want to improve renting for everyone. Where we really start is on the landlords, to really provide them those tools that it helps maximize their returns as a landlord and provide really meaningful financial benefits for the tenants. You ask my other colleagues and they'll probably give something different. Like, to me, I like finance, so I think about it in that side. So I think for the landlords, it's great. You help make sure that you get consistent cash flow. You're helping your tenants out in a meaningful way, and you really help de-risk the investment that you make. For those tenants, we really want to help improve their financial lives. And so providing them with the credit that they deserve by consistently paying their largest expense every month, that should impact your financial health. Yeah, we really want to provide a solution in an innovative and efficient way that really helps both sides, because that just makes this entire industry better.
Beautiful. Kayla?
It's connecting landlords, connecting the real estate community to different products and different services that all around is going to protect us as investors or protect our tenants. We can't put all of our eggs in one basket. And knowing that I've been advocating for landlords for 12 years and seeing how slow that is, this is why we have to start looking all around of what things we can adapt within our system to make sure that we're better protected. And that's the protection, the iron ring that I'm calling it. And that's why I'm calling it the GameChanger. But you know what? When we pay $186 for a landlord and tenant board form just for one application, this is nothing, and it's a tax write-off. So let's be a part of our community. Everyone doing the same song and dance, so our tenants are getting used to it. And I think deep down we're going to be able to see a lot of time and effort saved, and not having to chase our tenants, and saving some small landlords, the small landlords who have been in our business and just got out right away just because they had that one bad tenant. We're going to be saving a lot of those as well. So we're going to be contributing, keep contributing to the housing stock.
I love it. And I don't, years and years and years ago, I was asked to do a presentation from stage at an event, and I said, they're like, well, what do you want to talk about? I'm like, I want to talk about why investors leave real estate too soon. And they're like, well, what is it? What's the answer? And I said, property management, dealing with tenants. I want to deal with that. I want to help people take the fear out of it, because that's what everyone's leaving for. All the people started with us at the same time, they're gone. And they're gone because their life was too stressful. I'm like, that's what I want to talk about. So that's, I think, for me, what I think of when I think of these kinds of tools for landlords is it all comes together to make life just easier. And that's really key to being able to stand for a long time in real estate. And that's where the difference in our lives comes, right? So, and guys, thanks once again for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
All right. See you.